So I'd like to go to our next presenter, Steve Dolyniuk. Steve Dolyniuk is a veteran CFL official who's going to talk to us today on tips and tricks from the pros. Steve, you should be co-presenter, so you should be good to go. It looks like you have your own cheering session here, Steve, from the other 36, I do believe. Take it away, Steve.
Okay, we're off to a start there. Yeah, that's Mr. Clean starting off. So first off, I just want to say good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, Barry and Nigel, for organizing the virtual series, inviting me to speak today. Great job by Chris and Ray. I enjoyed that. At this point, definitely want to let people know, those that have been struggling with the COVID and the challenges, that I'm sure everyone's thoughts and prayers are with you. I hope everybody's doing well out there. This is definitely different, presenting on Zoom rather than live. I haven't done this before, and you really don't know if you're connecting with your audience, but hopefully this is going to work for most of you. We'll have questions, I think, a couple times throughout, and then at the end. So, please take some notes. I won't be following the chat room. That's beyond my pay grade, but
that's okay. I will, Steve. We do have to, unfortunately, have a hard stop in a half hour, so we're going to leave questions to the end, guys and girls.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sounds good. Okay, well, I'm going to talk about game preparation and philosophy of mechanics. So we had some good hard information on those previous presentations, but I'm going to go a little bit different route here. And I'll explain later what I'm talking about in regards to the philosophy of mechanics, but basically I'm going to talk about things that have worked for me. My goal really is to provide some tools here to help you guys develop and elevate your game. Some of the stuff's basic, but some of the stuff requires substantially more effort on your part. And this is something I believe strongly in, just showing up at the field 30 minutes before the game and expecting to do your best. It's a recipe for disaster. So yeah, you might make it through, and yeah, you might not. Regardless though, if you want to work your way up to the CFL or university or just do your best on the field for the kids, then you have to prepare yourself. And you have to ask yourself, what are your goals? So, we look at 4 strategies for your best performance and success. So we're talking about technical skills and knowledge, fitness development, game preparation, and psychological preparation and development. So the technical skills and knowledge, obviously, it's pretty basic. It's the rules and the mechanics. You need to know those inside and out, and that's going to be the best for you. Reviewing memos and rules and mechanics changes throughout the season is important. And really, just as I'm saying here, knowledge equals confidence equals success. It's pretty simple. Nothing's going to give you more confidence out there than knowing the rules inside and out. Now, exams always haven't been my strongest suit, but when I've applied myself, I see results. And the bottom line is, we all have challenges. Just as I'm saying here, it's we're not created equal. And for some of us, we're going to have to work harder than others. Some people have more natural ability than others. So for those of you who aren't as blessed, for those of you who have more personal challenges than others, it means you have to work harder. That's just what your situation is. This is a quote that I strongly believe in, and I have lived this, through my years. Anytime I've ever had a challenge, whether it be physical or psychological in my game or in life, I look at where I'm trying to go, and I work hard to get there. And you have the option of working towards those goals and working through those issues, or letting it go. Hopefully, always choosing the direction to go after your goals. So the other aspect, fitness development. Obviously, everybody knows what that's talking about, and it's really very simple. The fitness is going to help you overcome some of the other shortcomings. You can work harder to get into the best position. Exhaustion is not going to diminish your mental capacity. You're more likely to make mistakes when you're exhausted. So being in peak physical shape is an asset to you. Now, game preparation. What does your weekly game preparation look like? I've some of the things I've said here, I heard was touched on by the guys earlier, and I'm hoping to elaborate on some of that. I just love this picture. Tactics and strategies to prepare. Andre probably doesn't like this picture. Number one, development and review game plan sheets. So I really, when I'm talking about these game plan sheets, they're really much more than, or not much more than, basically reminders. As an example for the field judge, just a general note, and these I read specifically game day, generally just before, the hour or so before we go out into the field. And it just reminds me and it cues certain things when officiating the play. I know we all have our keys and we have our responsibilities. Sometimes, and I'll get into this later, when your keys aren't being challenged in that, you really have to expand your scope and officiate the play. Hustle is important for me. The more I hustle, the better I get in position, the more calls I can make, the more I can help out in other areas. So these other things that I'm listing here are all things that I'm going to remind myself of pregame. I'll be specific about kickoffs and talk about signaling and all of this. I'm going to remind myself that if I'm not challenged, that I have to look at other options or other things that are going out there. The scrimmage run, well, of course, I'm going to remind myself of those responsibilities, whether or not it's before or after any fouls, the yardage gain. On passes, I'm reminding myself of who I've got, what some of my responsibilities are. If I know that I see my receiver starting to move down the line, I'm going to be thinking crack. So again, these things just remind me of things that I want to be aware of that day. Whoops, sorry about that, guys. Now, again, punts, same sort of thing. And you notice I have a lot of stuff here. And it's not just as simple as no yards, but sometimes you need a little reminder of things such as the ball bouncing back or the ball hitting the kicking team in the air. These sort of things don't happen that often. A returner faking to pick up the ball. So a lot of times, these things are things that you won't see a lot, but it's going to remind you and it's gone through your head ahead of time so that when you do see it, you'll be a little better prepared in that situation. Immediately after your last game and during your post-game meeting, and that's really when you're starting your next week's preparation there. The one thing I want to step back on the last comment I was making about these game notes. One of the things I always do is I always alter these after the game. So if I have had a challenging situation that I didn't feel I was really completely prepared for, I'm going to make some notes and I may add that to my game preparation sheet for the next week. So it's just a reminder that, hey, if you're seeing this sort of scenario out there, be aware this is what your response should be. The first thing you have to do in order to prepare for your next game is evaluate your last performance. So obviously when you get off and into the room there, you're going to get some feedback from the evaluator. You're going to talk with the other officials. You've probably done some talking already on the field about some tough calls there. It's a good time for you to be making your notes. Also, a lot of times we tend to focus on our mistakes, but also write down what went well. What stuff were you working hard on? What did you improve on from last week that worked for you? And you have to be objective. You have to have a serious look at this. And when you're talking to your evaluator and the guys or gals after the game, if you're meeting, listen to what's being said and try and adapt based on the information you're getting. The next thing I want to talk about is positive visualization. So to me, incorporating positive visualization has been huge in my game. I am more of a a learner that a visual learner that benefits from this sort of thing rather than just reading about it. So using the positive success oriented imagery is what we're talking about. What that is for me is I will be thinking about a specific play. It could be a pass interference. I'm visualizing my movement to keep up and keep in a position, not to be straight lined with these guys, to stay behind. I'm visualizing as the ball comes in, what I'm looking at, what I'm seeing, and how I'm responding to what I see. As far as me even pulling the flag out of my pocket and throwing it to the ground, then waving timeout, then how I report this to the referee. All of these are things that I will visualize to prepare myself when I get in that situation. And they're really good for situations where you've been challenged in certain things before. And it's okay to visualize having a problem go wrong, but to visualize you fixing it and being positive in the future. So most of the time, all of your visualization is successful. All of the items that we talked about in the game plan sheet, they can be incorporated into this positive visualization. And really, they should be. Developing pre-snap cues, well, that was alluded to earlier. For me, as an example, as a field judge on a punt play, it's very simple, but it just gets me clicking into what I should be looking for. Saskatchewan's kicking the ball. Okay, I got to be looking for no yard Saskatchewan, cut block Saskatchewan. For Winnipeg, they're the receiving team, illegal block, holding, blocking below the waist. It gets me sort of orientated, and hopefully it's going to help me from getting turned around and making any mistakes there. Pass plays, I'm thinking to myself, who's my receiver? Where's my 5 yards before that ball is snapped? Where's the ball being scrimmaged from, and where's my 5 yards so I can see that? As I mentioned earlier, if I've got a receiver in motion, I'm looking for the crackback. Psychological preparation and development. Well, we're talking about developing mental skills to deal with what you've got on the field, help you with issues such as stress. We're going to talk about, how you can cope with some of that. Having your pre-competition plan, as we've talked about, is very important. And then utilizing these other things, the performance evaluations and homework. Mental skills are obviously ways of focusing and behaving that enhance your performance. So you have to practice these things if you want to be effective. So one of the biggest factors we have to deal with, it's stress. I love this saying. This is from Tom Higgins. He said, "Pressure is a privilege." And that one kind of hit home for me, because you realize that whether you're doing a game that's the top two teams, whether you're doing a playoff game, all of these situations where it's challenging and the games are close and competitive, if there's a lot of fans out there, whatever the case is, you've got some pressure on you. But it's a privilege to be able to be doing this. Our response, of course, to stress can be varied. So we're talking about psychological effects. Tunnel vision is a big one. How your attention gets focused into one area, sometimes to yourself. At these times when you're undergoing some of this stress, your tendencies go to your dominant skills and attributes. And those are things that we're talking about working on now, so that you have a positive outcome when you are under some stress. Physically, you're going to get the muscle tension and increased heart rate, increased breathing, even increased center of gravity, believe it or not. So in order to be successful, it's paramount that you find a way to cope with the stress, because you're going to be challenged, and that's the bottom line. Relaxation techniques, I use the stretching and breathing on the field all the time. I use it before game, during game. I will take in between plays where like I say, I'm literally stretching on the field and I'm going through the techniques. Positive self-talk is huge, and we're going to touch on that. And then progressive muscle relaxation. Really, we're talking about things that you do off the field, whether it be a yoga or whether it be other programs that help you get a fully relaxed feeling, so that you can chill and be at ease with yourself. The deep breathing, well, I know it sounds funny, but it's as simple as, going through the nose and filling up your lungs and your stomach, and then exhaling and fully exhaling to relax. It's extremely helpful to me. Self-talk strategies, well, as you're mentioning, to break bad habits, it helps you with your concentration. When it says control the level of effort, I know for me, when I use a certain trigger, it helps me to get hustling a little bit more, and also to improve our self-confidence. So how do you use these things? Obviously, you've got to practice. You can set up, as I mentioned, stressful situations using positive visualization. You can follow a pre-game routine, which includes the physical habits of however you prepare, however you go through your process leading up to it. The game plan that we've talked about, reading through all of those items and preparing you that way, knowing your pre-snap cues. And one thing I always caution about is the superstitions. One of the things that I've seen with guys, they get into this mode of, well, I have to be number 4 out of the locker room because that's my superstition. Well, I kind of try and control my superstitions, or at least I want to have control over what that thing is. So for me, it might be going on the field and running from the 50 to 30-yard line and back before the game or the anthem or whatever, but it's going to be something that I can control. I know it sounds silly, but I've seen guys get a little spun out of control there when things haven't gone their way. When you're having negative thoughts and they happen to us, some people use a trigger word to clear their mind. I haven't had as much success with a trigger word as I have with just using phrases or negative self-talk. So using pre-snap cues is very helpful because that gets your head going into the next play right away. You're thinking about what you've got to be looking at, and you're already starting to check what was going on. But as I was saying, changing the negative self-talk to positive, rather than I really, you know what, that call, I'm going to say to myself, and I say, I'm going to make them forget about that one. So whether I'm right or wrong, I'm just saying to myself, I'm going to do better stuff going forward that's going to make them forget about it. Obviously, they're not just going to forget about it. But the bottom line is that I am going to get myself working harder and doing the best I can to improve on what's happened. Writing out the negative statements and rewriting them when you're off the field is also a positive. So the last component of psychological preparation and development, it's homework. So if you have access to video, watch video on aspects of your game that you're having issues with, practice the positive visualization, review and update your game plan, again, memos, the exercise. And you know what, even if you read one section of the rule book a week, you're way ahead in improving yourself. As an official, taking pride in all 4 areas of the preparation and development, it's all part of helping you reach your full potential. Any questions at this point, or do you want me to just go through in the last section?
Seven seconds of silence rule, Steve. So,
okay, philosophy of mechanics. I'm using the term philosophy of mechanics because I'm not specifically going to say, as was said earlier, this is your key in a situation. What I want to talk about is more abstract choices that are going to be made out on the field. Talking about the feel of the game. When we're talking about new officials, though, the best thing for you to do is to stick to the basics. So mechanics have been developed to put you in the best possible position to succeed. They're there for a reason. If you're a new official or in a new position or a new level, focus on the responsibilities of your position. Know the penalties that apply most to your position. Know your keys and be disciplined with your mechanics. Off the field, continue to study and get to know the rule book very well. Strive to be at least one step better than you were in your previous game. Rely on your mechanics, as I said, but understand that it is your responsibility to get yourself into position all the time. You need to feel what's going on around you, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. With more experience, more confidence, you learn that sometimes when you're not challenged, you can and you should, if you're an experienced official, expand your coverage. So what does that look like for a field judge or a downfield official? Well, on a kickoff, generally the player that's receiving the ball is not going to be challenged. Once the returner secured the ball, you wave time in, I'm starting to look through already to get another perspective. Now, I'm not saying I'm twisting my head and looking around. I'm looking through, I'm looking beyond that returner to see if there's anything going on. If that returner is challenged, then I'm going to lock back onto the returner. But you're always responsible for the returner, and that's something you have to remember. On punts, quite often the returners are going to be challenged right away. And it's going to have to be something where you're ruling on no yards. But as soon as that threat passes, expand your view. Keep looking. You're always going to have the returner in your peripheral. You might be picking up something ahead of that. If you are seeing something ahead of it, make absolutely certain, 110% or more, that you have seen a foul and you don't have any questions. And those are the ones that you're flagging for sure. Obviously, again, the returner is your primary responsibility until they've got out of your zone, and then you're going to be picking up your blocking, right? Scrimmage run, one of the things is about your key. Is your key right away involved in the blocking? If they are and everything's clean, look ahead. What's the next threat there? If your key's not in a position to impact the play, they're not even involved where the run is, let them go immediately and go look where the play is. That's where you're best off to help out. On passes, if you have more than one key, who do you favor? That's always a question. It's sometimes a little bit easier in professional because we know who the top receivers are, and right away I'm going to give a little favor to a top receiver over somebody I don't know. I'm also going to give favor to one receiver. If the defender is up on that receiver and they're off on the other, I'm going to alter it that way. If it's a high school game, as an example, and you either have seen the team before and know one of the players, or if it's partway through the game and you already know this one player is extremely good, you're going to favor that one player. It doesn't mean you can let go of the other key, but it means that you're going to give more attention to that. If your key isn't threatened at all, you should be helping out. If somebody's 10 yards back on my receiver and my receiver isn't even coming down the field much, there's no involvement in those, I'm going to look off or look through to see if I can help out with somebody else. And for other officials, if you see that another official has two receivers, you don't have any, or your key is not challenged, you should be expanding your vision and helping out. I love the term "don't officiate error" because it's so true. Sometimes we get locked up on a key that's doing nothing, has nothing to do with the play, and we don't see anything else going on. Now, the scrimmage, I'm talking about deep pass potential, feeling the play, which I've talked about. I talk about feeling the play, and the video I'm going to show now is a prime example of how you have to watch your keys, but you also have to feel what's going on around you. If you get locked in or you get tunnel vision on your key, or you're not able to relax, you don't get a sense of what's going on, and you can end up in a bad position. So it happens to all of us, and we'll just have a look at, I did it already. My apologies. So I'll have a look at the third receiver from the top, see what he does, which is the responsibility of the field judge. He holds up. The field judge, I think, gets kind of stuck on that. And lo and behold, on the outside is the post pattern that's being run, and he gets caught where it goes over top of him. So this is the sort of thing that I'm talking about, is that even whether you're using your peripheral as part of it or not, you need to be aware of what's going on around you and not just get completely focused in on your receiver. And that usually is the toughest one for the field judge. When we're talking about goal line coverage, I was told about how I guess it's still prevalent somewhat in amateur for people to say it's my goal line. Well, I say it's never my goal line as a field judge. Excuse me. I am going to, if you watch this play, I'm going to start sometimes in a field goal, at the goal line position. But I'm reading the play and seeing what's going on. I might start 5 to 8 yards deep in the end zone, and based on where the ball is being scrimmaged. But I'm going to read the play. I'm going to react. If receivers are going deep, I'm going to hustle. I'm going to cover the dead ball line, which is going to be my biggest priority. But if they have a screen pass or a handoff, I'm going to hustle up to the goal line and provide that coverage. If, as a field judge, you should never be locked up on the goal line. You got to trust your fellow officials. If the umpire is starting at the goal line, obviously you're pushed off right to begin, and your primary concern is going to be the dead ball line and what's going on in the end zone. So that's something for you to keep your mind, and you don't want to be in a situation like this where you're affecting the game. It's pretty much a nightmare for everybody. Okay, I'm going to go on to a couple of final thoughts before we take a break and have some questions. For success, I think it's vitally important that you have a crew first mentality for fouls. Our main goal is to get it right. I don't care who throws the flag or how many flags we have. I don't care if somebody throws a flag over top of my head and makes a call that I missed, as long as as a crew we get that call right. And if we have 3 flags on the play, that's wonderful. We got criticized. One game came in and the evaluator said, "Oh, you had 3 flags on that DPI. Who was watching the other receivers?" And I explained to him. I said, "You know what? The guys handle this perfectly. The other 2 receivers weren't challenged at all. The pass came out pretty quick to this other receiver, and everybody had looked to where the threat is, and we had 3 flags. It was perfect." So the bottom line is, as long as we get it right as a crew, that's what we're looking for. Don't take anything personally if something else happens. Learn from things and develop. The one thing we don't want to see is something like this and no flags on the play. Something wide open in the field and no flags makes everybody looks bad. So I'd be happy with 1 flag. I'll be happy with 5 flags. I don't care, as long as we get the call on the field. And that's what everybody's mentality should be, really. And lastly, if you want to be a better official, take ownership, learn from it. So the scenario is that you've hustled to be in the perfect position. You see it, it's close. You choose not to throw your flag. There's bodies around that make it challenging for you, but you did see it. So later you're thinking, "Oh, maybe I should have." But the evaluator is asking afterwards, "Did anybody see the play?" That's a time where you might feel a little pressure. What your response is really what's key here. The evaluator knows who's supposed to be looking and likely who would have seen it. If you want to develop the respect and trust of your fellow officials and evaluators and others tracking your development, take ownership. 2 things are going to happen. You're going to be told it's a good no call, or we should have had a flag. And either way, you're going to learn from this. It helps you establish your standards. Next time, you're not going to be wondering when you see that very same play, "Geez, I never did talk about that, or it didn't come up, or I didn't own up to it. I'm not sure if that's a flag now or if it isn't. I never got an answer to that." Well, if you got that answer, it helps you develop your standards. And therefore, it also helps you develop what I call the holy grail of officiating. Consistency. And that's what I think almost everybody will tell you that they're striving for, from evaluators to players to coaches, everyone. So for you, that is the sort of thing that you're striving for. So I hope that this information that I provided, I think we whipped through it pretty quick, but I hope that this has been helpful for everybody. If you're able to use even just a little bit of this and be a better official, then we all win. And as you see here on the screen, my email is there, and I encourage you, if you have further questions, I will provide the PowerPoint if requested there. If you have questions, feel free to get a hold of me. I've been very lucky and blessed to have been involved in this football, and I would definitely like to pay it back. So I think we are going to have to take a break right now, and then we can come back for questions, if that sounds right.
Actually, we have about 2 minutes before we have to hard stop. So It's question time. Steve, I want to thank you again for everything. I can't reiterate your statement there about, lifelong friends. I've been lucky enough to have traveled from one coast to the other due to football, and lifelong friends that even though you may not see them for 10 years, you'll pick up just like you were just saw them yesterday. So questions, please go right ahead, guys, quickly. I'm going to say you're getting off question. Oh, what? Somebody beat me. Hurry up. No questions? You're getting off free, Steve. You still get one free drink in the province of Nova Scotia, though.
Actually,
At least we just need a CFL team.